Bro.
Bro, what up, bro?
I mean, this is late news by the time this episode airs, but J.K. Rowling, Stephen King, not friends no more.
Nope. Well, I mean...
Unfollowed.
The things, the kind of things that she said, that's things that can,
Well, did you see the actual breakdown, though, of what he said that made her unfollow him?
Oh, she unfollowed him?
Yeah. So she made like this big thread where she was praising him for always having women's back and being an advocate of women and just all this shit and just straight up, really giving it to him. And his response, all he said was something along the lines of one sentence, trans people were women too. And she just fucking apparently lost it, unfollowed him. I don't know if she blocked him or not, but she deleted all the tweets and just looked very upset. And I was just like, damn. It's like, why you gotta be so transphobic there, J.K. Rowling? Apparently she's one of them TERFs. Trans, exclusionary, whatever the R word is, feminist.
I didn't know there was a thing.
Yeah. It's feminists who don't consider trans women and don't want them to have any of the same rights or something or other. Don't want them involved in women's issues or... I don't know. That ain't my business.
Now, is there one of those for, like... trans men where men don't want like females who change into men be like, I don't think you should get into our men's rights, because I don't see us like dudes caring for the most part.
There are those like men groups, I forget the name of them. I want to say Mennonites, but I think that's Amish people.
Those are Mennonites, I think.
Mennonites, yeah, good call. Whatever they are, there's like some kind of men's groups that are all for men's rights, but I don't think people take them seriously, let alone, worrying about if they're hating on trans people or not. But I thought that was interesting, brosif.
Yeah, that's
brohim. Like, why would you, like, couldn't she just ignored that one remark? Like, I feel like since this quarantine started, it seems like everybody just hates J.K. Rowling now.
Well, because I just don't understand, like, people who have, like, a platform and then have some kind of, like, weird, fucked up view or opinion on something that they know. That they voice that... I'm not saying it's right that they have to hide what they truly think or maybe feel.
But they bring the shitstorm upon themselves.
Yeah, like, just be quiet and just keep on raking in all that Harry Potter money.
Like The Rock does. We don't know The Rock's personal... We don't know his political views, his personal views on certain matters.
Yeah.
He just is cool and polite to people and just does what he does, and he's very unproblematic. Why can't you just have that? I mean, obviously he supports, like, Black Lives Matter kind of things, but... He doesn't, even that, you don't see him, like, pissing off the Republican fan base or whatever, the white people. But she just, I don't know. The Harry Potter money got to her.
Well, at this point, I think she probably I think she'll be fine. She'll be fine. I don't think she's going to be struggling at all, but...
Well, she's one of those rare cases of somebody who, like, got super rich off of writing, and then she was a billionaire, and then lost her billionaire status because she gave so much to charity.
Yeah.
And was doing, like, a lot of awesome things. But then she also started... Like, she created Super Whiteyville. That was her story. Just a bunch of fucking little white kids doing white things. And she's English, so whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, did it really matter? Nobody cared as much. Okay. And then she was like, well, actually, Hermione's black and Dumbledore's gay. And, like, she just started, in the last few years, started saying, like, that kind of stuff.
Like, since when?
Well, I wrote the one, look, this passage, Hermione has kinky hair. Like, really? I don't know about that, man. I mean, I've seen some of the movies, and they're all pretty white.
Yeah, and if she was black in the book, why'd you let her change her to, like...
Yeah, I think that was just some made-up bullshit trying to... It almost seemed like she was just trying to ride that LGBTQ train, try to hop on board and get with that. Because that's most of her fan base, honestly, are like that side of the spectrum.
Yeah, because like that's what puzzles me as much as of why she like has those stance on those issues. Because you'd think from the stuff that like just from her work, you'd think that she's a pretty like open person. You would think just from her work. And then to just find out that, the person who wrote a story about, this poor kid whose family got killed and he had to live underneath stairs for years and then get, you think that would be a very open, person about, different issues and stuff like that.
Well, like, before I thought, okay, maybe she's just like a feminist and believes like, like trans people shouldn't be in women's sports because they have unfair advantage. Things like that are kind of reasonable.
Yeah.
But then
she just didn't like them, right?
That's what it seems like. Well, here, let me see if I can bring up the one tweet. I don't remember if we talked about this when this came out, because I think we might have, because it was really shitty too.
Well, I remember beforehand asking if we were going to talk about it, and he was like, no, I don't think I want to talk about it. And then you just kind of brought it up in joking form anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right then, I guess we're going for it.
Ooh. I mean, she has a lot of shitty tweets, apparently. I didn't see that one. Or that one.
Well, there's probably more now.
Yeah, you know what, folks? You can just look it up, because there's a bunch on here. And her trying to walk back some stuff. Well, the one that I saw was about like menstruation, and she very shittily stated like how women are the only ones that can menstruate, but the way she put it was very like, fuck you trans people. Like, she was really just mean about it. It's like, even I, who don't get offended by things, was like, that's fucking shitty. Like, why are you doing that? I mean, I never read Harry Potter, and I'm not really good. That's, kids' books. I ain't fucking with no kids' books. I'm a man. Well, I read man books.
I was gonna say, because, we're always talking about, like, YA books and stuff like that. And, like, that was, like, the one book where, like, adults without kids were, like, reading it. And I was gonna say, like, how we try to tackle different, like, subjects and things, like, for YA, we should read a YA book, and a Harry Potter book would probably be a good one to go into, but not now.
No, not really now. And from my understanding, like, what she did with the Harry Potter books was cool, too, because, like, the first book is geared to younger kids, and then as you read the series, it gets more, like, the writing and stuff gets more advanced.
Yeah. Because it kind of grows with that first wave of audience.
Yeah, so it literally, for some people, which I can understand why they would take these issues even extra hard, is because it was like their whole life. They grew up with these books, and it was a huge part of who they are today, and then all of a sudden, you got to be like, oh, well, that person's fucking shitty. And then it's like the old, well, do you separate the author from their views and just read their work and enjoy their work? Obviously, she's a little more complicated because they're still making new movies and shit off her work. And I don't know. It's an icky subject. It always sucks when somebody thinks it's kind of cool. Turns out to be
a dick.
Yeah, kind of a dick. Kind of a shitty dick. A poop dick, if you will. Ooh. Hey there. You are listening to the Drunken Red Team Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me today, Spencer, the Cambridge Creamer Church. Ooh, what does that mean?
I don't know.
I don't know why that came out so easy.
It's coffee.
That literally didn't even... Like, I must be either getting better or worse. I'm not sure. Because I didn't even think of that until I said your first name. And then that's what came to mind. Like, I'm just letting it, like jazz, just let it flow out of me, baby. And you're the creamer, the Cambridge creamer. That's gross. Or maybe you're just working on like a dairy farm.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's coffee.
Coffee creamer. Yeah, coffee creamer. Yeah. Artificial or organic?
Well.
Real milk or thick cream or thin cream? Half and half. Today's episode, this is about writing and wellness. And this comes from writingandwellness.com. We don't really ever talk about the wellness aspect of a writer's life too often. Like, we've talked about focus, the importance of, like, exercise a little bit. Like, we touched upon a lot of these things. But I don't think we've ever actually did a episode about wellness. About how a writer's physical and emotional and mental health are very important to the writing process. This article. Jesus.
Listen, that normally doesn't come into it after the episode's done.
In the episode, every time I say the title while we're recording, it's never the title that we come out with. So I don't know. This is 7 Things a Writer Should Never Do. And this was written by Pepe Silva. No, I don't know. It doesn't have an author's name.
I would be so mad if I wrote an article for, like, a website and they didn't, like, give me credit for it.
Well, for one fitness site I wrote, I had literally hundreds of articles on there, and then they sold the fitness site to another guy, and he deleted, without saying anything, or even giving back pay, 'cause I didn't get paid for my last couple articles, just deleted all the writers off the WordPress or whatever, and just put his name, and then like one editor, he kept his name, so every single article was attributed as he wrote it, or the other guy wrote it. And I was like, oh, that's great. So now I can't even use these articles to show my year's worth of writing credits all gone. So, folks, just a little bit of advice. If you're in the freelance game, really watch.
Yeah, a lot of shady fuckers out there.
A lot of shady fuckers. Like, that was such a fucking poop deal. It's like, man, I mean, I get it. You're just writing, you're a content writer. You're getting paid per article or whatever. But it's like, come on, man. At least leave my credits up.
Yeah.
And like, I don't understand.
Or take your article down then.
Yeah, he obviously didn't want to take the articles down. It's like, why didn't you just, like, get rid of all the writers, but just keep their names on their articles? Like, hey, we're just not going to use you guys anymore, and then take away their passwords.
Yeah.
No, he did it the lazy way and literally just deleted all the writers, their profiles off of it. Because, like, it's how our site's set up. So if I just deleted your profile, and then all of a sudden, all your stories and everything, it was just my name on it. Like, that's fucking dookie. That's fucking, cockadookie.
Cockadoodie.
That is cockadookie. We'll just jump into this, as I like to do. I generally don't read the beginning, because the beginnings of these... Nobody reads fucking intros to articles, do you? Unless it's like in the New Yorker or something, like something that actually is a part... Like a list article, generally you just read the list. I found that out in the freelance game as well. Nobody reads the intro. Sometimes I'll slip in some fucked up shit in the intro, see if anybody's paying attention. Never.
You should literally just... yada yada yada, blah blah blah, and just really see if anybody notices it.
It'd be like an article like 3 best tricep exercises you're not doing, and then the second paragraph of the intro, I'm like, put a rope in your butt and tug on it until your butthole prolapses, and nobody would read that. Like, that seems gross, right? Like the pull down rope, like has that big handle on the end, like that ball. Just jam that up the old pooper, and you tug it until something happens. Ew. I may or may not have... Hey, you know what? Fuck it. My name's not on that article anymore. So those nuggets... I just like to think, too, like, at least little bit of satisfaction I have is to know that some of the really fucked up things I added in my articles... You read some of those articles, and they were fucked up, usually. It's like, now people just think that guy's a degenerate.
Yeah, not you.
Because when that happened, I stopped getting all the hate emails I would get for some of those, because...
But you not being on the thing, they wouldn't have your information.
Yeah, but I did a lot of satire articles on there too. So it was like from the view of like what would like a super douche bro would think, and it'd be like against fat people or women or I don't know, fucking just shitty things.
Have you checked if that site even up still?
I don't know. Yeah, that sucked too, because I actually ended up working for the sister site as well, writing articles for that, and that was even harder because that was aimed towards women, so you had to completely changed the way you wrote, and I was like, oh, I got some really good articles, and some of those articles I had to fucking research. Like, I had to write one about the fitness culture in Iceland or something, and it was like all these scientific sources, like journals and stuff I had at the site, and I was like, why am I doing all this for fucking, chump change, and then they just fucking take my name off it. Anyway, number 1. Ooh, how do you feel about this, Spencer? A writer should never spend too much time sitting at the computer. We've talked before about how I said when I get in the writing zone, I just won't move for 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. And then I have to get up and walk around, and then I'm out of the zone. I just don't write anymore. Which I guess 3 or 4 hours is pretty good. But have you ever had to quit writing just because you fucking cramped up or your legs fell asleep or you just realized, oh shit, I've been sitting here forever. I should probably move?
No, because that is kind of one of my main problems with writing is to focus myself and like just sit down for 2 hours and do nothing but write, I'm always like, I get like 20, 30 minutes in and it's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then when I go to the bathroom, I'm like, oh, well, there's this funny video, and then I go on like and then I go, oh shit, I gotta get back to writing, and then I write for a little bit more, and then no, I'm hungry, I want to get something to eat.
You seem very unfocused, sir.
Oh, I'm so unfocused.
You need to fix that. I hope when I move, my focus will go up. I'm not going to read these because this seems like a lot of personal information and stuff, so I'll just give our tips because I feel like we probably fucking
our takes on the tips.
Yeah, our takes here. I think a good tip is I've always been told by people in the industry, my connections, Neil Gaiman, my best friend. Then we hang out every weekend. Drink tea.
Tea, yes, tea.
Mead.
Hot tea.
Hot tea with a lemon in it. So good. It's so flavorful.
So tasty.
No. I don't hang out with Neil Gaiman anymore because he's too cool.
Because of the tea.
Too much fucking tea, man. I'm not British. I don't like tea that much.
Neil Gaiman was like, hey, Caleb, you know what? I've been really wanting to write a sequel to, like, Good Omens. And since, the other writer, unfortunately, past years past, I've been looking for somebody to co-write it with me. What do you think?
I think I'm good, Neil. I think I'm good.
The tea, but I don't get it.
I'm good, mate. I'm good. You know what? You just do you, bro. I'm going to sit over here and drink coffee like an American man. I do like iced tea, though. Sidetracked. Anyway, so what Neil told me was take a break. Like, you can set a timer or something like every 20... And I stretch this out, but every 20 minutes, maybe just get up and walk around a little. I've heard... Again, this actually goes to like office work. Every 10 minutes, you're supposed to get up and walk around. I think it depends on your chair. Like, I just judge by the chairs we use for the podcast. After about an hour, I'm like, so we probably should get up about every 20 minutes. Stretch it to a half hour if you want. The issue is, I feel like when you're really in that writing zone, though, that could fuck it up, I think. So you just have to kind of be able to
identify what the situation is.
And you have to develop that ability to be able to slip into the writing zone easier. And that's something I always fall in and out of that. Like, I'll get good at it for a little bit, then my writing routine breaks, and then I just can never get back to it for a long time.
I always hear people like and granted it's mostly comic book writers, so it kind of varies because of the amount that you have to write. But like, they might get up, write for like an hour or two, and then go and run some errands, or get a little bit of exercise in, and then come back for like another couple hours, and then maybe. Well,
I was thinking of bringing that up, but I didn't want to jump ahead because I didn't read this article.
Okay, so that might bring that up.
But obviously, like exercise, going for walks, things like that are a good idea. But like I said, I don't know if it's on here, so I want to hit it yet. Another simple solution is just get a standing desk.
Yeah.
Or you could be like that one writer we didn't talk to that guy. That was an article we read, I think. The guy had the treadmill.
Yes.
He wrote while on the treadmill.
Yeah, because we talk about like how...
he wrote whole books while on the treadmill.
That'd be too difficult, I think.
So he measured his book by miles. So he was like, this one took 15,000 miles to write or something. I'm like, no thanks. Number 2, a writer should never worry about how she should write. Very gender specific here. I do like the tip they give, write in a way that makes writing fun. What this mainly is, you shouldn't really worry too much about, like, going back to Neil Gaiman. I know he writes everything by hand first now, and then he puts it in the computer. I should write like that. No. If that doesn't work for you, don't do that. Just do what you're comfortable with. That's basically it. If you're, just a strictly keyboard guy, you have to write on the computer, fine. If you like to write short, punchy sentences and that's your writing style, fine. If you like long-winded, flowing, detailed, whatever, again, fine. You have to find your audience who likes that style, and you will probably have to tailor it a little bit. So if you're the long-winded guy, you probably want to shorten some things. If you're a short guy, you want to, lengthen some things. Like, you do have to... That just comes with the mastery of writing. But I think that really focusing on what you think you should be doing is not really necessarily a good idea.
Yeah, because then that also kind of falls into, like, writing for a certain audience or a certain genre or whatever, and that seems that could cause more trouble than,
well, that's like
it's worth.
We've talked about many times where it's, a writer should write every day. Like, that's the big tip. That doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that, or not everybody works well like that. We talk about Dirk Manning all the time because he's a bulk writer. Like, waits till the weekend, fucking writes for 10 hours. People are different, and you just got to find, like we did in our episode about creating a writing routine, you just have to find what works for you best. And that usually takes years. I will say, though, just a little side tip, consistency is the most important thing in the writing business. Mm-hmm. Like, you could be a dog shit writer, but if you're consistently dog shit and put out a lot of work, at some point you'll probably get at least a little audience. I mean, you're never going to get a great audience if you're just a shitty writer.
Well.
But you might, that's what I'm saying. You might get a certain fan base. Number 3, a writer should never allow others to determine how important her writing is. That's, I guess, a good one because you don't want, say, like, say you write fantasy and your wife hates it. Or she thinks it's child stuff. There we go. She thinks, the fantasy genre is for children. Why are you writing that? That's not important. You should be writing literature. You should write fine war dramas. It's not her place to do that. Like, you don't have to listen to that. If you want to write fantasy, you want to write fart fiction, you want to write Bigfoot porn, erotica, you can write whatever you want.
That kind of aligns with we've always talked about, write the stories that you want to read.
Yeah.
Because those are probably going to be the better stories that you write.
Here's the way I always think of it. If you're writing to please other people, then you're not writing, you're not being original anymore. You're not writing for yourself anymore. And honestly, first and foremost, you have to enjoy your writing.
Yeah.
Before anybody else, before you worry about anybody else, you should be your first critic and your first number one fan. I'm trying to think of another scenario where like somebody would just really shit on your writing or the importance of it. I mean, I guess it happens to a lot of people. Just people, I think what mostly happens is it's not so much they shit on or criticize your writing or the importance of what you're writing. It's more of just like a general lack of interest.
Yeah.
Which is not as bad, I guess, but if you want them to be interested and they're not, I think the important...
Well, that's like how we've talked about, like, different, like how, we thought that maybe, like, more of our friends would check out some of the stuff that we put out on the website, and it's like, they really don't, but, like, if they did, and... because it's one thing if they checked out and be like, well, I didn't necessarily like this part, or like that didn't make sense to me, because those are valid things, but it's like if they would have read it and be like, why do you keep on doing these these short horror stories?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you, like you said, try to do like a literature kind of thing or whatever. It's like you can't write that, especially if you're not getting paid. I mean, at this point, you're writing for yourself and trying to put it out there. It'd be different if somebody was paying you to write something a certain way.
Well, it's like one time I wrote a story I think it's on the website about it was like a literary piece about a mom and her kids on the beach. I forget I think she thinks they like got sucked up in the tide or something and thought they drowned. She's like, because she wasn't paying attention, she was glued to her phone. It was more like a commentary about people being addicted to their phones and stuff and not paying attention to their life. And so she thinks her kids like die or something, and she panics. And then she ends up finding them after like she goes through this big crisis. That's where the drama lies. It was more like a literary piece. And then I think she finds the kids, everything's fine, and then she realizes, this is what's important. Well, a coworker of mine read that story, and he was like, oh, yeah, I read one of your stories, because he was a new guy. He just started. And I was like, oh, yeah, which one? And he's like, oh, what'd you think? And he's like, oh, it's okay, but I don't want those kids to get eaten by sharks. I thought that would have been really cool. So, yeah, that's not what I was writing. Yeah. So if I listened to that guy, then I'd be right. Maybe it would have been a more popular piece, but that's not the story I wanted to tell.
And and that's a different kind of, a different thing there.
Yeah, that would have been like a horror story. I told him, like, hey, I do have stories where people get eaten by stuff if you want to view those.
And I might have a story later when somebody gets eaten by a huge size shark, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, kid murder.
That seems like right into my wheelhouse.
Number 4, a writer should never stop pursuing his own path. I guess that would be more along the lines of you kind of need to focus on what you do. So if you, like, say like a young Stephen King. He wrote, Carrie, and he has Salem's Lot, so he's got a couple horror pieces under his belt that are really popular. And then his editors say, well, you know what? What was that, the 70s? So they were like, you know what? People don't really want horror stories now. We want some, like, disco stuff. We want some fun stories. Write some, like, if you listen to something like that, then you're not writing what you're going to be ultimately be known for. Again, it just goes back to writing what you want to write. So if I was like, hey, Spencer, you've been writing a lot of flash fiction stories lately with kind of like horror elements or supernatural elements. Why don't you try writing a romance, Maybe you'll like writing a romance. I bet our fans would like it. Yeah. And then it's like, I don't want to write romance. You're fucking writing it. Like, that's not... You got to do what you want to do. If you do what somebody else wants you to do, you're not going to have passion for the project, and you're probably going to shit the bed.
And I'd also think that might also have something to do with when it comes into pursuing your own path of, like, I can see that down a lot with whenever it comes to trying to find, like, agents and, you know, and publishers and, you know, and submitting for things. You can't, you can't let, like, constant, like, rejections from submitting stuff, like, you know, weigh you down. You kind of have to just, you know, grit your teeth and kind of, you know, push through it, you know, to...
It's like you're walking a tightrope and people are throwing rocks at you. And if you let those fucking rocks keep hitting you, and you just you don't protect yourself, you'll fall off the tightrope. Yeah. You'll be off the path and you're done. Or you can say, fuck them rocks, and you just power through and get to the other side. Shitty analogy, I know, but it's just kind of like, you can't let others fuck up your goals and your dreams because those are yours. Yeah. Well, I never...
Because we have, like, you know, probably different things that we would want to get out of writing. Yeah. Like, I know you'd probably, like, and I would like to, you know, have a, you know, something published from, like, a big, publishing house, but, like, if I could get to a point to where, like, with writing, like, you know, just, you know, regular fiction, and to make enough money off that I could, you know, start doing, like, little, like, indie, like, comic books and stuff like that, you know what I mean? That's what, like, you know, I would really, you know, like, that's the goal, is you get enough name and following that, you know, maybe you could try to do some comic work and, like, stuff like that, you know what I mean? To where other people, they wouldn't want to, they don't want to write comics, they want to write these huge novels, or, like, this romance series, or whatever, you know, so you have to kind of figure out what you want to do.
I never understood the idea of letting other people deter and determine your goal.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you'd want to write indie comics. But then, say, like, I was like, you know, Spencer, I don't think that's a good idea. What you should probably focus on is short story collections. And let's just work on that. And then keep working on that. And never do anything else.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting there fucking 10 years from now, fucking... Goddamn Caleb fucking make me write these short stories. Now it's all I do is write short stories, and he's over there on his golden yacht writing these big novels, and then he started writing indie comics. And it's like, no, you don't listen to me. You can listen to suggestions if you think it's a good idea, but ultimately it's what you want to do. It's your life. It's good with anything. It's your fucking life.
Yeah, that's like, I could ask you for advice on something, but I shouldn't just, if you just start telling me what you think I should do.
You don't have any idea how many people have told me, like, online and stuff, like, why don't you ever think about writing, like, this genre? You should probably write this genre. Usually it's, like, fucking hard fantasy or something. It's usually what they like. Yeah. And they're like, you should write that. And it's like, I don't write that. That's not what I want to write.
And you probably don't like that stuff.
Yeah, I don't read it.
If you don't like that stuff, you're probably not going to write it.
Yeah, exactly. Like romance. I've had somebody be like, yeah, why don't you ever dip your toes into the romance market? It's really booming. Yeah, I'm sure it is, but I don't want to write it. I have no interest.
And it'd probably be terrible.
Probably.
Because like, we
don't like it.
We don't like it, so it probably wouldn't be good.
One of my fears was always that I would get famous for writing something that I absolutely fucking hated. Like, I was like when I was doing, like, the freelance gigs or something, say that took off Hunter S. Thompson style, then all of a sudden now I'm the fucking...
wacky...
the wacky, comic-y, funny guy that's writing all these... And so nobody would ever read my serious stuff. And I was just like, oh, god damn it. Like, this is the road I'm on.
Well, like you said, Hunter S. Thompson, I have to think some of that was, like, he did because he made it felt like he had to...
Yeah, keep up the image.
Yeah, like, that's his persona. It's kind of like a wrestling thing. Like, you can't break character.
Also, like, when that's your moneymaker... Yeah. Well, going back to J.K. Rowling, like, she wrote other novels that weren't Harry Potter, and, it makes you think, she wrote Harry Potter. Was it a passion thing that she did that? Or she just wanted to break in, she figured that was a good way, and it did obviously make money. And then once that made money and she kept doing it, you think at some point she was probably like, I really wish I could fucking write something else. It just sucks to get pigeonholed in something. And that does happen. I mean, look at like E.L. James, for example. She wanted to write something that wasn't fucking shit erotica like 50 Shades of Grey. Do you think she could?
No.
Do you think Stephanie Meyer can... try to dip her toes in the literary world and anybody would take her seriously, even if it was good?
Or even if she, like, say if she tried to, like, even, like, try to do, like, a more serious horror novel, nobody's gonna take her seriously. Like, oh, that's Twilight person. I'm not gonna...
that's the Twilight chick. Well, that's even, like,
Well, even, like, Stephen King gets shit for that.
Yeah.
People are just like, oh, he's just this weird horror guy. And, like, some of his best things, are, like, they might have, like, a weird, like, supernatural thing to them.
They're not just horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, it's one of those things, it's like a double-edged sword. fuck, I'm famous, but it's for something I don't like, but you still are rich, you're making the money, at least being creative.
Like that, the actor that gets, typecast for, that shitty role on a sitcom that he can never live down.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. 5, a writer should never expect too much from his writing. This is, I think, more along the lines of sales and marketing stuff.
Yeah, once you finish the work and you put it out to the public.
What's the old saying? You hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
You keep your expectations low, but you that way when something good happens, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I made 100 sales this week. I was expecting to make 10 sales. Yeah. I know a lot of, actually seen this recently on the old internet, on the writing community on Twitter. A few people really down the dumps about their sales for their newest books and stuff, which this right now is not a good time period for selling books, I don't think. I think just reading in period. Well, the podcast number has been, I've been looking at our numbers and then numbers from some of other podcasts I follow and stuff. Everybody's downloads are down. Of course, that could just be summer too, but...
And there's also, a lot of serious shit that's going on right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I haven't even really been focused on releasing work too much. I'll put we're going to have some stuff on the site here, but...
now's a good time to just get work done and put it out later.
Yeah, I mean, summer is usually hectic as is, but this year, obviously, there's a lot of shit going on, and it's just not the best time. But these people had their expectations so high. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to fucking knock it out of the park. I'm going to... they're preparing to be best-selling authors, and then when that doesn't happen, you're greatly disappointed, and some are even talking about quitting or, stuff like that. It's you can't really focus on that stuff. You just have to, again, just do what you do. Fucking focus on the next project. You do your marketing stuff, but don't obsess over the sales and everything. That's not always the most important factor.
That's the great thing about books and stuff, and especially if digitally, it makes it so much easier that who knows down the line, because this happens a lot with comic book creators. They will have years worth of stuff that they either did for Image or smaller presses, and then they start getting work at Marvel or DC, and then everybody goes back and buys so those stories that maybe only sold a couple hundred copies in a couple years are suddenly getting 1,000 copies sold because people finally notice you and they're oh, what else does this guy have? So those sales might just come down farther in the line.
And then on the other side of this argument too is you have to remove your ego from your writing too. So you can't say you wrote a story and you really, really like it. You think, oh, this is amazing. This is the best thing I've ever written. Everybody's going to love this. This is going to be super popular. It's going to get knocked out the fucking park. And then, we both done this where we written something like that where we think it's really good and then it gets no views. Nothing. Yeah, nobody cares.
And then you write a certain kind of article and then it gets a ridiculous amount of views and that almost makes you just as angry.
Yes. But just keep level. Don't be too low and don't be too down on yourself. Don't be too high and mighty. Just keep your ego level, keep your expectations level, just everything in the middle. Just, expect things might not go well, but hope they do. That's all you can really hope for. 6, a writer should never neglect exercise. This can be as simple as just going for walks throughout the day. Not everybody has to fucking be a bodybuilder or power lifter or crossfitter or whale wrangler or bear wrestler or deer hunter or stone throwing strongman or speed whacker or throw something out there, Spencer.
I like speed whacker.
You like speed? I knew you'd get stuck on the speed whacker. Whatever your form of exercise is, there's a lot of things you can do. And like I say to everybody, 10 to 20 minutes a day is that's all you need, man.
I think, and that's something that I've been thinking about and trying to incorporate more into my writing schedules,
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel because it's been a while since I've ever actually exercised, but then also my job is also kind of very physically demanding, yours is, It's But though, like, you don't bitch out like I do, and you actually, you actually go to the gym and stuff. But, like, I've been thinking, like, I should try to, like, after work, just, go for, like, a jog or something around the block.
Like I said, even 10 minutes even just one lap around the block. Like, you start somewhere. You just start, like, just small. You don't have to start big. Like, a lot of people think, oh, I gotta go on a diet program. I gotta go on a lifestyle change. No, you just start, it's small steps. Maybe one morning you do fucking 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups. That's it. That's all you do. Next morning you do 11 of each. You just try to go up as much as you can. Before you know it, you got a solid 20 minutes of working out in. And then the next week, maybe 30. Like, you just, small steps, do what you can. And, again, it's not always about just looking good and even feeling good. It's just about, it's kind of generic to say, but it's just about doing it.
Because it is kind of weird because, like, in high school, whenever, like, I played football and stuff, like, there was always, like, you would get, like, during the summer, you'd have to get up at, like, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning to go to the weight room, and you'd think, like, after that, like, getting up, because, especially then, like, we were younger, didn't have a car, so it's like, had to get up early, walk to the high school, do the lifting, walk back home, and you'd think after that you'd be, like, dead fucking tired, but you almost kind of get, like,
you get used to it.
This weird, like, energy charge from doing, like...
Well... I could tell you from...
It's like those fancy batteries that, like, you get... That you move them and just, like, the energy from them moving, like, charges them up.
Yeah. And then when you're that dead battery, it's really hard to get it charged up initially. But once you do, you can keep it. It's easier to keep it charged than it is to go from a dead. Just from my experience, because I try to exercise every day, not including work, which is also fucking a lot of exercise. But... what I find is it does keep my energy levels up. Like, the more I work out and stuff, the less naps I take. Like, I don't take naps when I get home generally, unless I had a really, like, fucking smash me in the head kind of day. But usually I don't take naps. And it helps my focus because, like, because you don't realize it, but if you don't really exercise much or anything, your body has, like, this weird vibration inside, like this energy level that even though you might feel like tired and dog shit, when you try to focus on something, your body's just like, I should be doing something. Like,
it is weird. It's like you're tired, but like chucked full of energy all at the same time.
Well, when I was a kid, my mom worked like multiple jobs a day, and she would always be like, I'm too tired to sleep. And I never got that until I became an adult, and I was like, oh, I understand.
I get it now.
You could literally be too tired to sleep because it's not your body that's necessarily tired. It's like your mind. But the walking is a great one for writers because you can also think. You're not really... While it's exercise, it's not strenuous.
You can daydream.
Yeah. And it's still good for you, but it's not overly strenuous or anything. And then, I recommend everybody check out Stephen Kotler's work because he talks about flow states. When you get into you get in kind of a flow state. Do you ever just, say you're walking or like back in our old buggy pushing days when we worked at Walmart, you'd fucking walk. We just walk. And I've come up with the best ideas doing that because I would get in like this zone, but then that's where my anger came out because I didn't have a way to unleash it. Yeah. We weren't writing then. We didn't have laptops on us. Phones weren't very good then. So you couldn't like really jot down your notes too much.
The most we did was try to take that creative energy into mocking our coworkers.
We did shenanigans.
That was our outlet there. Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Tomfoolery.
But not to harp on this topic too much, but just, people get it. Exercise. It seems simple, but there's so many people that don't know how to start. Because I always get, at least a couple times a year, I get like friends or just acquaintances that, usually older people come to me, it's like, I've been thinking about getting in better shape, and and they literally don't know where to start or what to look up. And it's like, I always tell them, just start small and you're more likely to stick with it. Just the walk a day, just like I said, a couple push-ups, and just do what you can do. Just the important thing is just being active. It's not so much the exercise you're doing, it's just the being active.
We get like a couple like 10, 15 pound dumbbells. You can do a whole bunch of stuff with that.
Well, you've even made like strides over the years of just changing certain things, like drinking just less soda. You just drink like a glass of water or iced tea or something. Like just small switches in your life. The thing is, they add up over time. Yeah. So while it might seem very insignificant at the time, by like, oh, you know what? I'm just not going to drink pop anymore. I'm going to switch from Coca-Cola to just plain water. And then all of a sudden, by like the end of the month, like, oh shit, I lost like 5 pounds. Yeah. Like just little things like that.
You feel it better. You got a little bit of energy. And then also you don't feel bad. Because you ever get like, because I know like a lot of times, and I'll get like, I'll be writing and like I'll be getting in like a writing mood and like I said earlier, they'll be like, oh man, like I gotta go to the bathroom, like, and I don't know if it's like the weird, just, you know, you're sitting upright or like, you know what I mean, you're hungry, you got like, you know, you got the laptop on your lap or like, you know what I mean, and like, but if you are doing those different changes that, you know, help you physically, you won't have that many problems or that those little mini excuses you can use to, you know, bow out of work when, you know, when you shouldn't be.
This is barely related to what you just said, but a lot of times I write in my bed, or even though I'm at my desk, I sit in my chair, but I put my laptop on my lap.
Yeah.
And I have my legs up on the bed because I don't know, I just don't like sitting on the, like, I don't like the shape of my desk. So I'll write in my lap, and what ends up happening is I'll get in a writing zone, so I'll write for like an hour straight or something, and then I have to plug my, especially also when I'm editing the podcast, I do the same thing. So I plug my laptop in when it starts to get, the battery gets low, and then like another half hour goes by, and I'm just really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's kind of like your back hurts, you don't feel right, you have to be upright, and then I realize, like, oh, I'm like kind of sweaty. It's like, am I sick? I realize the fucking thing is cooking my nuts.
Yeah.
Like, it's just baking me.
Ooh. I got one of those like little mini tables, like, you know, like
I do
like
too, and I just don't use it.
Yes.
I have one that has a fan in it, and I still don't use it. It's like I don't know. I just like the thing on my lap. It's more comfortable. So probably don't be like us, folks. Just don't.
Don't lie. You just want to be like Randy and get like the from South Park and get like the huge
big balls,
the huge bouncy balls.
Seems like that would hurt. What if he's laying on some rocks? Number 7. This is the final one, right? A writer should never underestimate how challenging it can be. This is kind of what we were talking about earlier with the ego thing and everything. Is it's like a little bit of the other end of that, where you can't just expect, oh, I'm going to start writing and everybody's going to love my work and I'm going to get famous really quick. That rarely ever happens to anybody.
That or just the like, I don't think some people who don't do it realize the like the time and the effort it takes into like do an actual novel.
I don't think people realize how hard it is just to complete a short story that you're satisfied with. Not even one that's good, just one that you're satisfied with. Because there's a lot of times where I really like a story I'm working on, and I might still end up either bailing on it or just not getting back to it till like a lot later. And then there's some times where I don't really care about what I'm writing, but I can knock out a whole story and people like it. It's kind of a crapshoot with that. I don't know, really. I haven't mastered the. I guess it would just go with the consistency. Just like release everything you can, or get published as much as you can, or whatever avenue you're at in your writing career. But as long as you're consistent with it, people are going to read it and then they can judge. And then, I mean, obviously, if you're like a novelist, you wouldn't want to put out like a shitty book and then like, oh, this book's okay, then this book's shitty, but then this book's great. You'd want to be more consistent with the quality. But when it comes to like flash fiction and short stories, you have a little more wiggle room. You can put out some stinkers, and that'll help you. Like, people will be more likely just be like, oh, whatever, that wasn't that good, and just kind of ignore it. And then you can, you'll be more likely to, as you keep writing, you just naturally will get better. It's like you get rusty if you don't write for a while. So, like, anytime I take a long break and then I get back to writing, say like a month off or something, I'm fucking terrible. My stories suck. My creativity's not good. My stamina for writing is awful.
Because I don't know about you, but like at the beginning of this, like years ago when we started, I was thinking like, oh, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a little bit to get to the point where you'll be able to like do like a novel and then be like, and then, it'll be all right after that. And, it shouldn't be too difficult. And it's like, and how many years have you been doing this? And like, I haven't did anything larger than maybe like a long short story. Yeah. It's so difficult to just, to come up with a couple hundred pages worth of words. Yeah. Of words strung together making sense.
Quality words. And what's not on this list, but I'll add it because I feel it's very important to your writing success and your mental wellness, is like we were talking about in the episode when we talked about writing routines and creating your, I don't know what we said, but it was like a writing habitat, like your writing space. I think that's very important because, like, for me, I feel like my writing is, okay, let's say like I'm an athlete. Like let's say I'm like a basketball player, right? I'm on the court at 70% best all the time because I'm just slogging through. My environment's kind of shitty, so, my knees always hurt and I just don't feel that great. So I have to warm up in extra lot, like I'm an old guy, and then I can get into it and I might be all right for a little bit. Because that's my neighborhood. It's fucking loud, and there's helicopters and gunshots, and there's fucking dope heads next doors and fireworks on off. Oh, I should have did that as the whole intro. I don't want to go into it again. Just look at my Twitter, folks. Like, I fucking hate these fireworks.
It's everywhere, all the time.
Oh, nonstop. So that shit is just, I feel like it really does, like I ignore it. I try to ignore it, but I think it is affecting my writing. Even my writing space is kind of cramped. And so I think once I move and I get a bigger, quieter, nicer writing space, I think that will bump my 70 up to at least, an 85.
And I think another thing that should be put on here is the using writing as like almost like a therapy.
Yeah. That's a good one.
To get, because I think that's another thing I need to do is like I need to take everything that I'm feeling,
have more personal touch in your work.
Or just like take all my anger and frustration I've had from a shitty day at work when I get home, and just use that either as motivation or fuel to be like, I don't want to fucking work here anymore. I'm gonna get this novel done, and I'm gonna publish this fucking novel. And it's gonna sell, and then I won't have to work at this shitty place anymore. Even though that you probably still will, but you use that as the carrot or the stick.
And you might murder a lot of people in the book.
Yeah,
that may or may not resemble some of the people that have been pissing you off at work. Yeah, that's a good one.
Or just like we said, like there's all this stuff going on with pandemics and protesting and cops, and everybody has like this like anxiety, and like I think if you're any kind of creative person, to try to channel that thing and put it into whatever it is you're writing, you're painting, sculpture, whatever it is, I think could do a lot more good. Just even if it doesn't end up being anything you can use to just get it out of your system.
Well, the beautiful thing about writing and pretty much art in general, and what has like really attracted me even when I was a kid, because I had kind of like a troubled upbringing. So what really attracted me to writing is that you kind of forget everything while you're doing it.
The escapism of it.
Yeah, like everything that's going on around you kind of fades away. I know artists get this a lot when they're drawing, because you're just not, that shit's like, it's background noise at best. Like it's just really not a factor in your life for that time period. So and then when you get older, as responsibilities build up and you have more things that are weighing you down, when you sit down to write and you get in that writing zone, you could kind of just put those to the side for a little bit. And it's just like a relief. It's just, I fucking have a car payment coming up. I don't have the money in my bank. Like things that are just fucking killing you. You could at least get a little break. Because if you don't, I think a lot of people, why they turn to drugs and alcohol is because they don't have any way to escape that. They don't have that break.
To relax, to like calm down, it's just, it's especially now, it's rough. Cause I can't lie, and I don't want to use it as an excuse, but like, I really thought, my productivity was going to be a lot better this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought this was going to be like a good year of like, maybe we wasn't going to get anything like published from anything, but like, maybe like we would have had our book done by now, or like at least a lot more stuff done for the website, or, and stuff like that. And it's just,
I really try not to let like all the stuff that's happening in the world affect my writing schedule or my work. But sometimes, like you said, that anxiety, even when you try, if you ignore it, it feels like it almost makes you more anxious, because you're like, well, then what's happening out there? Like, so you have to pay attention, but then paying attention to it, it's like this barrage of bad news all the time. Everything's so negative. Everybody's so angry. Everybody has an opinion about something. It's hard to escape that.
Everybody gets mad at your opinion.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus, when is enough enough? Like, when can you just escape this? Because I came in the year the same way. I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking hit the ground running. We're gonna get this project done. We're gonna work on other stuff.
Especially because I felt like we were kind of picking up a little bit more of momentum at the end of last year. You know what I mean? Like, we were meeting people at conventions.
Well, that's another thing. Like, our whole social life just fucking cut. Because, like, one thing that the convention... Because it might sound a little silly to some people, but one reason why I like covering these conventions is because with the exception of maybe one or two that were lackluster, I usually get really motivated by seeing these creatives and talking to these people who are doing shit.
Yeah, and you want to be like, oh, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah,
I want to be like that person who's, you know, get their novel out or their comic out or just cool craft things or whatever, you know.
Or like when we hop on panels or do like, you know, podcast panels with people and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, this isn't very hard. We could do this too in the future. Like it motivates you. And then everything just, like, if it was like our fucking car was just rolling nice down the interstate, and then we had a fucking big spike and it just blew all four tires at once.
Yeah. We drove into a sinkhole without realizing it.
Oh, fuck. Now I gotta dig ourselves out. Yeah, it seemed like everything just kind of crashed and burned, and it's just like, well, what do we do now? Because, we could be using this time to be writing like maniacs, but at the same time, for some reason, it just feels like you're weighted down. It's really hard. I don't like it. And then, like, the summer's, like, every day's beautiful and we can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? This sucks. Also, work. Work's another one.
Oh, my God, work.
I think, because, like, this all made work so much worse.
Yeah.
So much worse. And I don't know about your job, but my job has fucking picked up ridiculously. I was like, I thought this was going to be a nice break. I thought, okay, well, at least if everything's shut down, I shouldn't have much to do, right?
Yeah.
No, it's like everything fucking quadrupled now.
Yeah, like, I won't have anything to do other than writing.
Yeah, it's like, God damn it.
Just read and write. Like, you know, like, that's the one thing looking into, like, the pandemic was like, oh, well, at least I'll be able to do the two things I want to do the most, is read and write, and both have been lackluster.
Fucking, see? Patchy helicopter. I can't wait till I don't have to deal with this anymore. I will say I have been reading a lot this year.
I mean,
I honestly, though, I'm not up to my pace of last year, my book pace.
Yeah.
I attribute some of that to Moby Dick. I still haven't finished that fucking thing. I read 5 novels while I was reading Moby Dick, and I started that in March, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But even, like, my daily reading has dropped off, though, because before I would read, like, fucking 10 chapters or something a day.
Yeah.
Depending on the length of the chapters, obviously. But, you know, say 10 to 20 page chapters. I could read, like, up to 10 a day. I'm at like 1 or 2 now. It's like kind of pathetic. It's like, what the fuck? Like, last couple nights I stayed up late reading, trying to get back into it, but I was forcing myself to do that. Then I, you know, kind of enjoying it. But even that, I don't know if you've had this problem, but even with reading stuff, I've been kind of unfocused.
Yeah.
I've been like, oh, I kind of really like this book, but I just don't feel like reading it. And I don't like doing that. Or like TV, even like a couple of shows I watch, like, I just don't feel like watching. I don't feel unfocused.
That or like I'm watching the same episode of like American Dad and Family Guy that I've seen
400 times.
Yeah, but it's on. I don't even really have to pay attention to it. I'm just kind of laying there, not doing anything.
Because if you watch like a new show or something, you have to pay attention.
Yeah,
to it. You just can't do that.
I can't focus enough for that.
Have you ever, we'll end it on this little conversation. How often does this happen to you? Because this has been happening to me a lot. Like, it'll be evening, and I feel kind of creative. So I'm like, you know what? I can get some writing done. I got the time. I kind of feel it. And then I'm like, but I don't really know what story I want to work on. I'm not quite sure. It's like, well, maybe I'll just read. And then I'm like, I don't know what book I want to read.
Yeah.
Like, usually this happens when I'm in between books, too. It's like, or even when I'm reading a book, it's like, well, you know what? I have all these short story collections. Maybe I'll just, you know, read a short story.
Yeah.
Like, well, which one? And I'll look through my books for 20 minutes. Like, you know what? I'll just go back to and I'll just go back and forth like a dickhead until it's time to go to bed. And then I'm like, I didn't do anything. That's happened to me a lot lately, and it's like disturbing. I don't like it. I don't know how to break the cycle.
The sledgehammer, Caleb, with the sledgehammer.
Yeah. People say, oh, just force yourself to write. It doesn't work like that.
And
the more I force myself, the less it happens. It's like, I would imagine if you had erectile dysfunction.
It's like, you know, to try to not go as gross of a way. Like,
come on, work, damn you, work.
I don't know about you, but I was a very stubborn kid whenever I was real little about, like, what I ate. Still am now, but really bad whenever I was a kid. And, you know, it's like, you have to eat this or you're sitting at the table. And it's like, fine, I'll sit at the table all goddamn night. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what happens when you try to force me.
Yeah, if you just ate the peas, Spencer, you would have been playing video games. But
fuck the peas, Caleb!
It's only 7 of them. Alright, well, I hope that was helpful to some of you. If you do want to check out the stuff we have written, we should have a couple more news stories up by the time this episode airs. You can check out that on drunkenpenwriting.com. You can follow us on the old Twitter, which I've been really slacking on. I just just don't care. I don't like going on Twitter.
Oh, it's rough. Twitter is a dangerous place right now.
Everything is so bad on there. But if you want to see, if you want to go through that fucking minefield and maybe find the light at the end of the tunnel that is DPW, we are the Drunk Pen Writing on Twitter. And then Facebook and Instagram is at Drunken Pen Writing. When I move, I want to start making some videos for the Instagram.
Ooh, okay.
We'll talk about that off air. But yeah, that's about it. And just to reiterate what we started with, bruh. J.K. Rowling, what you doing, bruh?
Come on, bruh.
Come on, bruh.
Come on, bruh.